The rookies are off to Penticton. So on today's episode of Locked On Oilers, what are the things to watch for this year's rookie camp of the Edmonton Oilers? All that and much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers.
You're Locked On Oilers, your daily podcast on the Edmonton Oilers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to the Locked On Oilers podcast. I'm your host and former Oilers game day producer, Brett Holden. As mentioned on today's episode, we're talking about the rookies as the rookie players, the rookie camp are on their way to Penticton for the rookie tournament. A little bit of time over in BC, a fun little trip, an annual trip that has been going on in the Edmonton Oilers organization for a little while, but always with new faces. And the new faces in this year's camp are quite interesting. So we will go through the top end talent, some of the interesting names to keep an eye out for on the forward core, and some interesting names on the back end as well. All on today's episode of Locked On Oilers. Thank you so much for making Locked On Oilers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you find your podcasts, your team every day. Let's start off with the top end talent, the talent that everybody is talking about and keeping an eye out for this year's camp. I mean, let's be real. 4 Edmonton Oilers are first round picks, and we're going to start there. One was 8th overall, one was 14th overall, one was 22nd overall, and the last one was selected with the final pick of the 2022 draft. Well, the final pick in the first round of the 2022 draft. I think most of us know all of those names, but the interesting thing is that some of them actually have some NHL experience, and that is where we are going to start off on today's episode, is the one with the most amount of NHL experience heading to Penticton this weekend, and that is Philip Broberg. Philip Broberg is on the list for the rookie camp this year. An interesting name, I thought, considering he played 23 games in the NHL for the Edmonton Oilers this past season. But a little bit more seasoning for Broberg there's a lot of expectation over him being in the NHL with the Edmonton Oilers this year. I mean, ever since Duncan Keith really retired, ever since the end of last year, Philip Broberg has been etched into the lineup for a lot of people for the Edmonton Oilers. However, he now gets that time with the rookie camp, with the organization, to play a little bit of extra games, season his game a little bit more. He mentioned in the press conferences yesterday about what side he prefers to play on. He said he's more comfortable on the left side. He can play both, but more comfortable on the left side. I bring that up because it seems like he's been playing a little bit in the informal skates on the right side. So maybe something to watch out for even in this tournament, little rookie tournament here, to see where Philip Broberg is playing. If he's playing on the left side, the right side, he's flip-flopping. Most likely going to be the top pairing guy, number one guy really on the back end there for the Edmonton Oilers. So Philip Broberg, a guy to watch obviously at the rookie camp for the Oilers. The next name, the one with the second most amount of NHL time at the rookie camp, and that is Edmonton Oilers' 14th overall pick from the 2020 NHL draft. That is Dylan Holloway, who has a total of 3 minutes and 27 seconds of NHL experience against the Colorado Avalanche in Game 4 of the Western Conference Final. Only got a game in, well, really 3 minutes and 27 seconds in of NHL time. Obviously, Dylan Holloway was coming off of that wrist injury, as he talked about in that press conference too yesterday. A tough injury to come back from. He thought it was going to be a relatively trivial type of injury. He said a teammate of his had a similar injury, had a surgery, and was in practice the next day. Well, Holloway had surgery, played in a game, and then had to have another surgery. So a tough comeback for Holloway. Obviously, as mentioned, 3 minutes and 27 seconds of NHL time for him. So it'll be nice for him to get a little bit of experience again with the team, with the organization, and get to be kind of the guy for that group of players in the rookie camp, because a lot of guys are going to be looking at this group of players going, I need to pick their brain to see where they're at in the organization, with playing, with their development, a lot of stuff. So Dylan Holloway, this will be a big time for him at the rookie camp, just to develop not only his skills on the ice, get back to pace on the ice as well, but also to teach and lead that younger group of the rookies, because we're going to talk about a little later, there are some guys down lower on in the roster, or the depth chart, I guess, who could make a push later on in their career, not even later on in their careers, in the next 2 to 3 years for an Edmonton Oilers roster spot. So picking the brain of these 4 guys are going to be big for those players. The next player, the 22nd overall pick from back in 2021, if you remember that far ago or long ago. He was one of the last cuts of the training camp last season, going into the Edmonton Oilers' fantastic run last year. And that was Xavier Bourgault, the 22nd overall pick. As mentioned, the Edmonton Oilers traded down to make sure that they still got their guy at 22, and that was Xavier Bourgault. A fantastic season in Shawinigan for him there. 43 games played, 36 goals, 39 assists, 75 points, almost at a goal and an assist per game. Certainly, obviously, with 75 points in 43 games, that is a point per game total. He then went on to continue on with his hot streak in the playoffs in the QMJHL in 16 games, 12 goals, 10 assists. That is good for 22 points. And then, after winning the QMJHL, he went to the Memorial Cup, the Shawinigan's first QMJHL title in like 65 years, I think he was saying. Then went to the Memorial Cup, 4 games played there, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. He's a productive hockey player. He's with Shawinigan since he was 15 years old. Got to finish it off at the Memorial Cup with them there. Now he's making the jump to pro. As he mentioned, it's not an easy jump for anybody to go pro, but there might be some spots for younger guys like Xavier Bourgault to maybe push the squad, make the squad. So this rookie camp will be big for Bourgault to get back into kind of game shape. He didn't stop playing, or I guess he stopped playing not too long ago, but still long enough of a layover where you can still lose your skills, obviously. Not your skills, but it takes a little while to get back into it. Bourgault, obviously one of those leaders as well that might be, that is in this rookie camp, I should say. So just a fantastic hockey player, could make a push for the Oilers roster. I wouldn't be shocked for next year, because he is a full-time pro next year. He has to be a full-time pro because, I mean, it's either going to be Bakersfield or Edmonton. It's not going to really hurt if he's burning a year in Edmonton or Bakersfield. The final name here of the top-end talent is the final first-round pick on this list, and that is the 32nd overall pick from this past year. The name that basically everybody was expected the Oilers to take. Everybody was like, finally. Reed Schaefer is an Edmonton Oiler, and Reed Schaefer is off to the rookie camp with the Edmonton Oilers. His first rookie camp was also at the development camp in July as well. Had a pretty good camp there. Big camp for him coming up. Obviously, his first training camp, NHL training camp, coming up out of Seattle there. Fantastic year for him, too. Last year, he came into the year, he wanted to get at least 5 goals because the year before was not too great in Seattle. Well, he came back to Seattle, a brand new hockey player, and balled out for a fantastic hockey team in Seattle. In 66 games for Reed Schaefer, 32 goals, 26 assists, 58 points, continued it in the playoffs with 25 games, 6 goals, 15 assists, 21 points. He's obviously a local lad. He said that, you know what, it's changed a little bit living in Spruce Grove. He gets recognized a little more often than he used to, but this is going to be new for Schaefer, big for Schaefer, but it will all depend on how he handles it. A big camp for him coming up, especially with the rookie camp. So who's your favorite out of those? Who will you be watching the most out of those 4 first-round picks? Me personally, I kind of want to see how the skating of Holloway has developed. I want to see how Schaefer can feel playing with the Oilers logo on his the front of his jersey, and I want to see Bourgault as well. I'm excited to see him in Oilers colors. Moving on into the forwards, because there are more forwards to be excited about at this rookie camp. We will get into the forwards of the rookie camp in just a second. But first, I want to tell you about our partners over at BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports this season. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, including this year's opening week's games, which was last week. But this week, after those opening week games, I've been going through those opening week games going, okay, I need to add this guy on fantasy, need to add that guy on fantasy, get this guy off my fantasy team, he is awful. That is why I've been using BetOnline as well. I mean, college football has been wild. The week we had in the NFL with the kickers, I mean, Rodrigo Blankenship losing his job after one missed field goal? Specs! You're going to drop Specs! Sorry, that's a personal thing because I also had him on fantasy. Either way, BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. Plus, it is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MLB, NBA, NHL, MMA, boxing, and golf. Have I mentioned that they also have like Korean League Baseball, Mexican League Baseball? If you're a football, soccer fan like I am, they have some football over there as well. Head to the website today or use the mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. As I bring my notes over, we are heading into the exciting forwards of this year's Edmonton Oilers Rookie Camp because there are some as well there. I have mentioned just how much I like numerous of these guys. There is one on here that I'm not too familiar with, so I'm excited to see how much he plays and what he does for the Edmonton Oilers. But another guy as well on here, a little bit of a local guy too. Great story for him coming out of U Sports and now with the Bakersfield Condors. A lot of traction on him. We will get to him last, but where I'm going to start is top heavy. The guy who scored 90 points in his first full season in the OHL. A guy who I think is the absolute steal of the 2021 NHL draft. The Edmonton Oilers took him in the 6th round. As Matvei Petrov. Matvei Petrov has the potential to be the Edmonton Oilers version of Pavel Datsyuk. I said it. I've alluded to it for a long time, but the excitement, the way this kid can skate, the way he sees the puck, his personality, his mentality is years beyond his age. He's going to have another year, if not two, in the OHL, in Major Junior, just to really hone in on his skills. But in his first year in Major Junior, 63 games played, 40 goals, 50 assists, 90 points. How do you get better than that? Well, Matvei Petrov is going to show us how. He has mentioned numerous times that he knows what he needs to do to become a better hockey player, to be better at when he comes back to Brampton. It's North Bay. It's the North Bay Battalion. I get thrown back all the way back to the Rafi Torres. Here's a name for you. Do you remember Brian Pitton? Remember Brian Pitton? He used to play with the Brampton Battalion, but the North Bay Battalion, North Bay, has an absolute star on their hands in Matvei Petrov. I'm excited to see how he plays here in the rookie camp this year. Obviously getting off with a lot of very interesting teams. Obviously they're playing Winnipeg, Calgary, and Vancouver. So those are pretty important teams against the Edmonton Oilers. A couple teams that don't like the Edmonton Oilers as well. And a couple teams that the Edmonton Oilers don't like either. So Matvei Petrov, a guy to really watch in that rookie camp. Going to be going up against tough competition, but also with his skill set. He could be on that first or second line in the rookie camp. So there's going to be a lot to watch from Matvei Petrov. The next player on this list is probably, next to Matvei Petrov, the second best natural goal scorer, if not the best natural goal scorer in the Edmonton Oilers organization right now. He was selected 100th overall, and as my father said when the Oilers selected him, I've never seen you so excited over a 100th overall. 4th round pick. And that's because I got to watch him a lot with the Sherwood Park Crusaders, a lot in the AJHL, a big fan of his brothers as well, who just went very high in this past year's NHL draft, Matthew Savoy. But the Edmonton Oilers version of the Savoy is Carter, and Carter Savoy is exciting to watch. As mentioned, just a full-on natural goal scorer. He's a smaller lad. He's not exactly the biggest guy, but he can shoot the puck like nobody's business. Has a great vision on the ice. Very solid hockey IQ when it comes to having the puck and being in the offensive zone. The thing for Carter Savoy will be making sure his transition game is there, making sure he's tough to play against without the puck. And that will be the biggest thing to watch for Carter Savoy. But either way, I mean, in 39 games in NCAA hockey last year, 23 goals, 22 assists, very consistent hockey player. 45 points for him in 39 games. That's a difficult point total to get in college hockey, but he got there very easily even as well. Went on to win the national championship with his club there, and actually went on to eliminate the goaltender the Oilers signed in the Frozen Four in Ryan Fanti, who is one of the best goaltenders in college hockey. So Carter Savoy has a pedigree to him, has really grown into himself in the over the last couple of years. Now is for him to show it. He's going to be a full-time AHL or a full-time professional next year as he signed his pro contract. He moved to Bakersfield, played 2 games in Baco last year. So we'll see, getting more time under him, under Coach Chalk down there will be important for him, but a great guy to watch in an Oilers uniform at the rookie camp. Carter Savoy, very fun player to watch. Next up, the player the Oilers picked with their next pick in 2020. He is an Oshawa General. He is a tough player to play against, and that is exactly what the Edmonton Oilers are hoping for when Tyler Tullio makes his jump to professional hockey. Last year with the Oshawa Generals, his point totals speak for themselves, but then you take a look at his penalty minutes and you go, this guy is a monster to play against. 65 games played, 42 goals, 44 assists, 86 points, 4 points back from Matvei Petrov in the OHL in points. And as mentioned, his penalty minutes, 62. Now, I've talked a lot about players having a high penalty minute rate, but you take a look at guys like Reed Schaefer. As long as you are being smart with your penalties and standing up for your guys and not putting your team in vulnerable positions, it is what it is. You can take a look at the score sheet and see a player has 5 penalty minutes, 8 penalty minutes in a game, and you go, oh, wow, that's an undisciplined player. But you don't get a definition or an explanation on what those penalties were. Were they stand-up penalties? Were they penalties that he absolutely had to take? And that goes in with hockey IQ. And you listen to Tyler Tullio talk, and he realizes that, you know what? When I come into the NHL, I am not going to be this Tyler Tullio of the OHL where I'm on the first line and I'm the guy on the team and I'm this leader. No, he's going to have to come in and be an absolute workhorse in the middle six, maybe even bottom six to start off his career. And he recognizes that. So as he mentioned, he is going to make an emphasis of being difficult to play against, not only with the puck, not only without the puck, but off the puck, which is different than on the puck or without the puck, but also in his own end, in the corners, making it tough to play against him in total. Tyler Tullio will be interesting to see his development. As mentioned, 5th round pick for the Oilers, 126th overall in 2020. A name, I mean, a lot of these names here are later picks, but just fantastic picks for the Oilers, and picks that might develop into something, which is something new for the Oilers. I mean, now we're seeing the development of Niemelainen, Vincent Desharnais, who was selected in 2016, and even some of the picks that are going to be talked about in the next section of today's episode are starting to come together. So the Edmonton Oilers later round picks are ones to watch. Another later round pick for the Edmonton Oilers on the forward core is Philip Ingres, a guy who was selected in 2020, a guy who doesn't really have a lot behind him. Played at the University of New Hampshire last season in the NCAA. Had a pretty good season. In 33 games, 7 goals, 14 assists, good for 21 points. I'm excited to see what he does. For me personally, I don't have a lot of exposure to him, so I put his name on here. Maybe you have a little bit more experience with him, but drafted in the 6th round, 169th overall in 2020. So one of his first real experiences of playing in a rookie camp. As mentioned, he was playing in the NCAA, and as you may have noticed, guys like Joel Mata nor Luka Munzenberger have been mentioned or are on the rookie camp because the school season has started. It's tough to get those school or college players into the rookie camps and the training camps. So this will be Philip Ingres' first time being able to come to a camp for the Oilers. So name to watch because I've heard some pretty interesting things behind him. Finally, the final name for the forward core, I'll kind of gloss over him quickly, but he has a lot of news, I guess, a lot of firepower maybe behind him. A lot of people want to see this guy succeed. He's kind of a local lad. He played with the University of Alberta here in Edmonton and had a heck of a season for a fantastic hockey team with the Golden Bears there. 8 games in the regular season for him. I mean, it's a tough season. It was a little bit chopped up, but 8 games, 8 goals, 3 assists, 11 points in the regular season, then playoffs game, and I guess he became a different player. 7 games played, 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points, 2 points per game in playoffs for Noah Philp. Yes, Noah Philp. You may recognize the name, former WHLer as well. Spent a couple years in the University of Alberta here in Edmonton. So if you are a U of A hockey fan, you've probably seen a lot of this guy. Just a fantastic hockey player. I can't wait to see what he can do. Got into 6 total games with the Bakersfield Condors. 3 in the regular season, 3 in playoffs, got an assist in the playoffs. So now he's going to play more of a full role down in Bakersfield. And now is the time to watch him. He had a fantastic Billy Moore's Cup game, a really good development camp from what I've heard of as well. He's an older player as well. If I'm not mistaken, he is about 25, if I'm not mistaken. So he is an older player, 24. Noah Philp is 24 years old. So he's got some age to him, he's got some experience, and just a really exciting little hockey player, especially a local hockey player as well, if you love local hockey here in Edmonton. How could you not? So those are the 5 forwards, along with those top-end talents to watch for. Matvei Petrov, Carter Savoy, Tyler Tullio, Philip Ingris, and Noah Philp. We are going to move on to the back end here and talk about the names to watch for at the rookie camp. And there, you know what? 2 of them I am very excited to see the growth of, guys the Oilers drafted a long time ago. One is a camp invite that I want you to watch out for because he was fantastic at the Billy Moore's Cup, and one goaltender, which I've already mentioned a little bit in today's episode, but I really am interested to see what he does. But first, before we get there, I just want to thank you for making Locked On Oilers your first listen every day. For your second listen, make sure you tune in to Locked On NHL. Locked On experts give you a daily 30-minute podcast on all things NHL all year long. Stay up to date on all things in the hockey world with Locked On NHL, your daily 30-minute NHL podcast. As I reach over to grab my notes. Also with Locked On NHL, we are, myself personally, join Jess Belmosto from Locked On Flames. It's a little bit of a Battle of Alberta type feel to it. But for Western Conference Wednesdays, as yesterday we talked about, the Locked On Network rankings came out for the Hart Trophy. And guess who's on top? Yes, you know him, 97, but 29 is much farther down than I think a lot of us would like. So make sure you go check it out there on Twitter at Locked On, or on the Locked On Network there on Twitter. It's also, I retweeted it from the Locked On Oilers page because the disrespect for number 29 is evident. But either way, let's talk about the rookies one last time, as they have some interesting names on the back end. As already mentioned, they do have guys like Philip Broberg, as mentioned, but they do have a couple other guys, older guys as well, selected almost 5 years ago here, who are making their way to the rookie camp and are very interesting watches. 2 of these guys, as mentioned, are kind of go hand in hand to me personally because they were 2 guys who went to college hockey, big lads, came back to the Oilers organization, played a couple years in Bakersfield, and now I'm really interested to see where they go from here. This is going to be a big year for both of them, especially with the resurgence or the surge of Vincent Desharnais. I want to see if that's more of a team development or if that's personal to him. Finally, as well, the final defenseman that I'll mention is a camp invite, as mentioned earlier. He's a very interesting player. I watched a little bit of him in the rookie camp, or at the development camp, and then as well in the Billy Moore's Cup, and I really turned a lot of heads for me. I'm happy he's getting a rookie camp invite because after watching him in development camp, I'm like, I need to see more of him. And finally, a goaltender. I think you all know which goaltender I'm going to talk about, but we'll get there in a minute. Let's talk about the tandem that I am a big fan of at the Edmonton Oilers rookie camp. I hope they are going to be a pairing at camp, and that is Phil Kemp and Michael Kesselring. Both guys, one's 22, one is 23. They are older players. In fact, one player was drafted the same year the Edmonton Oilers drafted Kyler Yamamoto, if that really tells you how old this player is. Phil Kemp was drafted in the 7th round in 2017, the 208th overall pick, and Michael Kesselring the year after, round 6, 164th overall in 2018. Now, both guys are over 6'3". In fact, Michael Kesselring on the Edmonton Oilers rookie camp roster is currently standing at 6'4", 190, and then Phil Kemp at 6'3", 203. These are big men. I have to preface that with men. These are big men, and they both played in Bakersfield last year and played a very important role for not only Jay Woodcroft's team, but also Coach Chalk's team as well down in Bago. Both played 55 games. Phil Kemp got 3 goals, Kesselring with 2. Kemp had 6 assists, where Kesselring was trusted a little bit more on the power play and as well in more offensive situations. Kesselring had 11 assists. Kemp finished with 9 points and Kesselring with 13. Both guys, you know what, 13 points as a defenseman in the AHL in one of his first full seasons there as well is pretty impressive. Kesselring, I'm excited for. Both guys who are also figuring out how to move with their height and size as well. A couple of guys that you just need to keep a watch on, and you're not going to miss them. I remember Bob Stauffer was mentioning, I forget who it was, but he was talking about just the depth that the Edmonton Oilers have defensively that people don't really recognize. And now we're starting to see it. Markus Niemelainen, 6'5", 6'6", big lad. All he does is hit and move the puck. Great hockey player. You take a look at Vincent Desharnais, who's just now making his push into the NHL after being drafted in 2016. He's 6'7", 230 pounds. Philip Broberg is standing at 6'3", 198. Michael Kesselring, 6'4", 190. Phil Kemp, 6'3", 203. Luka Munzenberger's 6'2" on the University of Vermont, but I'd say he's 6'3", if not 6'4". The Edmonton Oilers picked Evgeny Nevseyev, or the last defenseman that they selected in the last year's draft, and even Tyler Wright, the Oilers head of amateur scouting, said that he is bigger than what they advertise on his bio. The Edmonton Oilers have made a habit of drafting big defensemen who can skate and do stuff other than put the puck in the net. You take a look at how Vincent Desharnais talks about playing, and he just wants to play against the top players of the other team. And you see that type of mentality in Phil Kemp and Michael Kesselring. So those two players, they are going to be wearing Phil Kemp is 76 and Michael Kesselring 85. Gotta watch him. Got to watch those two players there specifically on the back end. As mentioned, you won't miss them, but exciting young, well, I guess I'm 25, so I'm still going to say young players there. Now, the camp invite on the back end is also rather big. Here on the Oilers rookie camp list, they have them standing at 6'3", 191 pounds. The thing is that he's still 19 years old. He's gone undrafted somehow. And I say somehow because I look at his numbers. I watch him play in the rookie camp, in the development camp, back in July in the Billy Morris Cup. And every time I saw him, he was doing the right things. He was paired up next to my favorite Oilers prospect in Luka Munzenberger, and they just did all the things right. And that is Noah Dory. As mentioned, a camp roster invitee, and I watched him in the development camp. I watched him in that Billy Morris Cup. And he was really noticeable. A big lad who can skate, who can shut down the opposition's top players as well, who can keep up with those top players as well. He has some very solid foot speed. I really hope the Edmonton Oilers take a look at him, maybe throw him a contract at the end of the rookie camp. He is only 19, so he can probably re-enter the draft as well. So maybe a name to watch out for in the draft next year as well in Noah Dory. But in 60 games last year in Kelowna in the WHL, 3 goals, 18 assists, which is pretty respectable for a big lad like him, 21 points. Now, the other thing to mention too, 61 penalty minutes. We talked about the penalty minutes with Tullio and Schaefer. This is a guy who's not afraid to mix it up and realizes just how big he is. So Noah Dory, kind of the Western Alberta or Western Canada type hockey player. Big lad who can skate, does all the things right. Noah Dory, need to watch out for him. This year, he is wearing number 92 at the rookie camp. And finally, the goaltending situation. I have to throw the goaltenders a little bit of love. The Edmonton Oilers did invite one goalie to the rookie camp, and that is Jan Spunar, who is going to be wearing number 32. He's coming from HC Olomouc from the Czech Republic. Decent numbers there, 22-8-0 record, 257 goals against, and a 911 save percentage. But that's not the goaltender I want you to watch out for. The goaltender I want you to watch out for is a goaltender who's probably going to be playing in every game, if not starting every game, and that is Ryan Fanti. As we already have talked about a lot about Ryan Fanti, but a very solid season at the University of Minnesota Duluth. 20 wins, 12 losses, 4 of them coming in overtime. 183 goals against average and a 929 save percentage. A very solid goaltender. We talked about the Billy Morris Cup with Noah Dory, but you want to watch a very technically gifted goaltender. That's Ryan Fanti, and I'm excited to see what he can do against real competition, I guess you can say, because in the Billy Morris Cup, you're playing against guys within your own organization who kind of know you a little bit. Now I want to see, and you know the shooters as well, now I want to see him in game action. He is going to be exciting to watch. A long chat about the Edmonton Oilers rookie camp, but there is so much to watch for at the rookie camp this year, which sounds really weird to say because that is not necessarily the most watched event in general, but fantastic hockey players that might be on the Edmonton Oilers very, very soon. But we shall call it there. It is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday. It's Friday, man. Not getting there. It's Thursday. But either way, next week we are getting back into the full swing of things. 5 episodes a week. Yes, 5 episodes a week, Monday to Friday. Hockey is back. I'm calling it now. We have a bunch of games finally next Monday. The Oilers rookies play the Jets rookies. In fact, tomorrow on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. Then the rookies from the Calgary Flames on Saturday. And then at 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time, the Edmonton Oilers will be playing the Vancouver Canucks rookies. That is all this weekend. We have hockey back tomorrow. Oh, so exciting. Well, let's call it there, and hopefully after all 3 of those rookie games, we can play La Bamba, baby.